have asked Robert to sit down with me in an interview style.
I'm nervous.
Well, and thank you
I don't know what she's going to ask me.
Thank you for being willing to do this. I really just want to explain to everybody why I was so frustrated with us trying to find a campsite. It took us 6 hours to find a campsite, and we're not newbies at this. We've been doing this this is our 4th winter. We both were campers before that. We used our not Road McNally maps. What are those? Benchmarks. We used our benchmarks. We used all of our phone apps. We went to places that we had gone to before, and signal was down, which is why we were even having to change camps in the first place. We went to another camp that used to be Solitude and was overrun with ATVs. And I get that everybody's like, wah, wah, wah. Those are public land and everybody is able to be there. Absolutely. And we celebrate that people are camping and getting outdoors, and we're not saying they shouldn't be there. We're just saying it made it harder to find a campsite. That's all.
I would say it would be nice if BLM and the Forest Service was a little more selective and recognize that some uses degrade others' experience.
Yeah.
So maybe let the noisy, dusty people in fewer places, so that there were a few more places you could get some peace and quiet.
Well, what we are seeing.
I will say that.
Let me translate Robert for you, because this is on my channel and I don't want to get blasted. Is what we are seeing more and more of is BLM putting up signs that ATVs, OHVs, dirt bikes and everything allowed in this area, but not over here in this area. And it would just be nice, I think, if there was more of that for people that want to be out in the quiet and enjoy wildlife, which will not come around when there are ATVs and everything. So there is that. But on this particular day, it was already a tough day for me, and we were changing locations. I had just traveled in the basically middle of the night, as you guys know, to get to Robert. We were there one day and the internet crapped out, which it just does out here. They throttled down towers. That's not even throttling down your own service. That's towers actually getting throttled down, and that's a whole nother video, and we'll do that another day. So let me back up and just say that it took 6 hours for us to find this campsite that is working great for us, and we're really glad for that. So I made myself notes because it cracks me up, especially if you are a newbie or planning on doing this life. Please listen to what I'm fixing to tell you, and I'm going to read my notes because I want to get it right, because people that share in the comments and people that have not done this life for a long time, they tend to think that life is going to be nirvana when you get out here, and that, oh, what's the big deal? You don't have any responsibilities anymore. You're just living life free. And so heads up.
Well, it is if you follow the van life hashtag on Instagram.
So heads up. It is a fantasy that your car never breaks down, your rig never has issues, you're always able to find beautiful campsites, and that you never have to be in a hurry or meet a schedule, and that there's never any conflict out here. Okay? That's a fantasy. The real world is sometimes it's difficult and it's challenging, and you still have those Instagram moments. So I wanted to ask Robert a couple of questions that I hope will clarify. Okay, so Robert, one of the things that I asked you, or that I cut over to you a while ago in that footage, was, and we're filming this a couple of days later, this part right here. But when I cut...
Filming it inside instead of outside with the gorgeous scenery, because the wind hasn't quit blowing for weeks.
Yeah, the wind...
Speaking of, it's not always nirvana. Right?
Yeah, we can't even be outside. We can't even be outside personally, let alone take the camera outside. That's just not going to work. So we're van-ridden today. I always talk about being bed-ridden with some of my TBI episodes. Today we're van-ridden. So I cut the camera to you and said something about the van not working for you. Would you just briefly tell us why the van isn't working for us and for you in particular.
All right. Well, we could start with this little studio set here. Probably doesn't look too bad, but if you could all see another camera angle of what we had to go through to set this up and to turn on the video, and it's just
crawling over stuff, reaching, clipping, pinning.
I have studio envy all the time of YouTubers and video creative photographers who have somewhat of a studio they can stand up in and turn around in and actually, arrange their lighting and cameras so they can do it. That's just one example, but it makes the point that it's just small.
Yeah.
And
especially for two people.
Exactly, for two people especially. And what I say a lot is, I don't know if this is where you want me to go with this, but what I say a lot is,
whatever you need to say.
If a van is a pretty good gig if you're like retired and you can get out a lot, you're not in it all day. If you're on a long vacation, you can get out a lot. If you're doing weekends, it's perfect because it gives you a great balance between size and economy and a place you can get and everything. When you're trying to live in it full time, especially with two people, it's crowded, and if you're trying to work in the van,
that's the
especially
difference.
with two people, there just isn't enough room. I don't care how creative you get with your build. You can do boat builder fancy. It's just not enough square inches.
And not enough square
cubic inches.
Yeah, and so the difference is in what we're doing, working full time and traveling together and being in a small space. Because we could probably do a lot better in this if we weren't also working, and for Robert, this is his income, so it's not like he gets to just take a day off when the weather isn't cooperating, or when we can't find a campsite and it takes 6 hours out of his workday. How many jobs do you know of that when you can be like, oh, I'll be there in 6 hours, no worries, So that's a good synopsis of why the van isn't working for you. Why it's not working for me is I can't get to anything. And we just did this build out hoping that it would work for the two of us. We are going to be doing another one that we think is going to get us through until our channel takes off and our business takes off and we can afford something bigger. Which, quite honestly, everyone, it might be a year or two out, depending on how long it takes for our channel to grow and for the income to come in. So we're going to be doing a third build out on this van and hoping that it helps. But there are times when we're piling stuff up because of work and because it's two people and moving stuff around. The other day, I'm embarrassed to admit this, I couldn't even get to my caboodle that has my toiletries in it to freaking brush my teeth. I thought I was going to lose it. I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't even brush my teeth right now. It was crazy.
It is. So you got a roughly a 6 foot by 9 foot space behind the seats, and which we're actually sitting in front of the seats right now. Yeah. But it's roughly 6 by 9, and in that you're trying to put a bed, and you've got a little kitchen area and a refrigerator,
office,
and office stuff, and storage,
water closet,
and,
storage.
There's just not enough room to go around.
Okay, so I want to wrap this up because I'm doing a daily vlog, and I showed you how awful that day was and how awful I was being because I was so frustrated. And I just want people to understand that it is a good life out here. It is keeping me from being in assisted living. This guy and all of my friends and some of my family that still support me are keeping me from being in assisted living. You all are keeping me from being in assisted living, and I always feel so bad and so guilty when I get frustrated, and I just wanted you to understand where that comes from, because if you're thinking about getting into this lifestyle, these are things I think you need to know. And so the last question I want to ask Robert is, are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. You also said that this isn't sustainable, or I might have asked you because I know you say it. I can't remember now, that it's not sustainable long term. What do you mean by that?
I'm just full of pithy observations, aren't I?
It's okay. It was a day where I was really pushing the envelope on being like, so.
Yeah, well, what I mean by that, and I'll throw in here too, that Debra mentioned we're going to do a third rebuild of this.
Yeah.
We just did one this spring, and we haven't got it finished yet, actually. Structurally, it's done.
We're not going to finish
we didn't get
it
the
like
pretty
it
parts
is now.
done. And the reason we did that one was because it just wasn't working
Yeah.
And so this is better. We addressed some things.
It wasn't working for us as a couple. It
Right.
was a beautiful build out.
Yes,
it broke our hearts to break that down.
It was fine for Debra. Then we tried to put a second person in there, and a dog at the time, and it was just like, I mean, we couldn't. We were falling over each other. Well, we would have fallen over each other, but there wasn't room to fall over. So.
Yeah, and we thought this would work.
It addressed some things, but there still are just things that, I optimistically, perhaps naively, thought we could get it to where it would work to an acceptable level, and I spent hours doing different designs and reworking things,
just like Brian did,
and
hours,
and come up with what we thought was the best. We knew it wasn't perfect. We felt it was the best all around thing, and there still are we're going to try one more thing, but as far as sustainable long term, it's just so crowded, and like Debra said, it is a great life all around. But when you're frustrated every day, and everything's hard anyways when you're on the road.
It is challenging out here.
But it's
good,
extra hard because you don't have room for things. You can't get to anything. You got to move 3 things to get to the one thing you need. You can't cook because you have to move. Then you have to move something else, and it's windy, and you can't cook outside or whatever. And it's just the frustration level is such that for me at least, it's like, I just can't do this long term. It's not sustainable long term because it's just too frustrating and too difficult, and my work productivity is impaired to a significant degree because of those frustrations.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like every time where Robert sits is here in this chair. It's the swivel chair that turns around. But if I need to go outside or if I need to get up, he has to move his feet and his legs, which means he's working, okay? And so then he has to set everything over to the side, stop working, pray that it doesn't get knocked over as I go out, because you guys know me. And it like he said, you can't work in that environment. Imagine if you were at your job and every time one of your coworkers needed to move, you had to get out of their way. It just is crazy. And also, we're going to put the bed back at the back of the van again so that I can at least go in and out there. We're going to move some of the things so that we can have a closet across the back so that at least if one of us wants to sleep in or go to bed early, that we can maybe draw a curtain and be able to do that without the other person being disturbed. It's just, we've got some tweaking to do, but even that is only going to be able to be temporary. We're going to have to do something, but we are taking it one day at a time. You saw a moment of frustration from that morning that was just horrible. And a few days later, now that we're in a good campsite and I'm feeling better, I wanted to come back and share what we meant by some of those things.
Yeah, that wraps it up pretty much.
Okay.
I'll just I want to be clear on one thing.
Okay.
And that is that couples in a van is tough.
Yeah.
Under the best of circumstances. Or 2 people, period, is tough in a van. But with a good build, I think you might get away with it. The thing that makes it so hard for us, again, is just that we're trying to work in here too.
Yes.
And if we weren't trying to do an office in here, if we were retired and we spent a lot of time doing outside activities, or if we were working seasonal jobs or temporary jobs and we're out of the van all day, it'd be a whole different thing. It'd be much easier to make it work with a good build.
And again, this isn't just part-time income for Robert. This isn't just, he's not subsidizing his already retired income or anything. He is young. He's only 48 and he is still working full-time. I did. And he is still working full-time, and this is a full-time business. It's not the same as somebody that's just doing this as a hobby. And so that does make a big difference. Thank you for clarifying that.
Before we had the business, I worked full-time freelancing, so it was the same thing.
Exactly.
Actually, I work harder now, but
he does longer hours. But at least it's for us. I hope that's some consolation. All right, everybody, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments, and we appreciate you. And thank you for being here on my channel. It's about getting real with Debra, and it doesn't get any more real than this. Today it was getting real with Debra and Robert. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Bye, everybody. next. Thank you, Robert.